Welcome back to section one. So, Kyle, let's jump straight into this topic. It's a very important topic. I understand, thankfully, we have Ms. Delores from Groot City.
Right.
There was a little bit of an issue. I think there was some connectivity issues there, but we have her. We have also Mr. Jonathan Bhagan from Caribbean Committee Against Sex Crimes.
Yes.
So, guys, we have them on. Oh, perfect. Hi, guys. How are you going?
Thank you for having me, Council.
Thank you very much. What we could do is
Let's start with Ms. Delores.
Ms. Delores Robinson.
Ms. Robinson, could you tell us a little bit to start off? Tell us a little bit about your organization and what do you do?
Okay, the organization that I'm representing this afternoon is Groots Trinidad and Tobago, which is grassroots organizations operating together in sisterhood. At Groots TNT, we have 5 core areas: domestic gender-based violence, HIV and AIDS, mental health issues. We also have HIV and AIDS, as I said, sexual reproductive health and rights, and we also lend assistance in disaster preparedness and response.
Excellent. And could you tell us, our program today, we're focusing on gender-based violence. Particularly, we're putting the spotlight on that issue. Could you tell us in terms of what type of, is it that your organization offers support to victims of gender-based violence and that you offer assistance and support to them?
Okay, we operate 2 transition homes, specifically for members of the vulnerable community.
Perfect.
And of course, that would include people who are survivors of domestic and gender-based violence, people who are, as I said, vulnerable community, people who are HIV positive, PLHIV.
When you say, when you say it's a transition home.
It's a transition home. So it's a space where someone, for example, someone who is a survivor of domestic gender-based violence, right? They would come in for 6 months. We would house them in the house, mother and the children, if that's the case.
And these homes are obviously protected. We only when they contact you, they send it up. For obvious reasons, these addresses are not known to the public.
No, it's not. It's not known. We partner with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, in particular the Gender-Based Violence Unit.
Yeah.
Also other stakeholders, other NGOs, they would send clients to us.
Now, Mr. Robinson, in particular regard to the pandemic that we have that's ongoing right now, COVID-19, in the beginning, in March and April, throughout the world, but specifically regards to Trinidad, we went into a lockdown. There were quarantine. Now, I have read statistics that there has been an uptick in gender-based violence. Can you shed some light into this? Have people been contacting your organization? Have you personally been hearing reports of this uptick in gender-based violence because of this pandemic that we're all going through right now?
Okay, yes, there has been a spike in the reported incidents of domestic and gender-based violence. In the intro, I gather you would be having someone from the gender-based violence unit.
Yes.
But I can say it was early April when the Commissioner of Police reported that there was, and based on the figures he gave for 2019 and the figure that he gave for 2020, there would have been a 500% increase in reported incidents of domestic violence.
Yes.
At our transition home, we had seen, an intake, a very, I would say more than 100% increase in terms of intake, mothers, children who need assistance because, they're fleeing from a domestic violence situation. So there is definitely an increase.
Yeah.
But,
And
let's
move straight on to the Mr. Bhagan, Jonathan. Now, Kyle, we have somewhat of a. I've seen the interview. Fox News recently interviewed Mr. Bhagan in terms of the sex offender in the Caribbean, sex offender registry in the Caribbean. I saw the report. Can we start off specifically there?
Jonathan, you were interviewed by Fox. Tell us
about
you have a unique, probably the unique pleasure of being interviewed by Fox News in America. Could you tell us about that interview and why they interviewed you and your organization?
So we recently signed a memorandum of understanding with Offender Watch. That's a Louisiana-based software company.
Right.
They provide this software to track sex offenders to about 60% of the United States police force and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Canada. So they're very big in their field, and as part of the promotions, they got Fox News to interview us and discuss the work. And of course, I'm hoping to raise funding to do the necessary research to create a model for, we call it the Operation Global Sex Offenders Registry.
Yeah.
So we plan to link different sex offender registry databases in software so that they have a software called the Safe Virtual Neighborhood. So you could just use your smartphone, like a parent could put an app on your child's smartphone, and if a sex offender calls their child or messages the child on social media, the parents will know.
Yeah.
Well, two things, Jonathan. One, I would say, could you tell us, probably just explain to the viewers, I mean, we have an idea, but what exactly do we mean when we say a sex offenders registry and that type of database? Precisely what data are you capturing there, and why precisely do we have that type of system? Why do you need it?
So a sex offenders registry, basically, when somebody is convicted of a sex crime and they are released from prison, in certain cases of especially pedophiles and so sort of deranged individuals who have no self-control, they tend to go on to reoffend.
Yeah.
So it was found that there's a study by Prescott and Rockoff in I think it was 2010 in the University of Chicago, that sex offender registries definitely sex offender has to, every time they change their address, they have to go to the local police station and register that, okay, this is my address, and the police can then just keep an eye on them. So in case there's a new crime in the area, they will know, okay, this is a likely suspect for X crime.
And in terms of Trinidad, we have a system that is operational in Trinidad?
Well, the law was passed by our parliament in 2019, but of course, as lawyers, we know that legislation cannot be retroactive. So we have to wait for a new case to come before a judge, for the judge to say, okay, this crime is so heinous, you go on a website and then you have to register for 20 years, and such.
And in terms of the technology, you were talking about an app for a cell phone where parents could give that extra layer of protection to their children, because we know children are a very vulnerable class. How far away would you say that we are from that type of technology, locally or even regionally?
Well, regionally, only Jamaica, Trinidad, and Belize have any registry, and the law will have to be amended to. So the U.S. has something called the Angel Watch Center. They have like this big node with people who monitor all the flights and the individuals entering and leaving the U.S. and they basically send emails to say if Nicki Minaj's husband had informed the U.S. government he was going on a trip, they would have sent the email to our police commissioner to say, okay, this sex offender who also had so many other crimes is coming, and your immigration can decide what they want to do with them. So we still have to amend Trinidad's law and the different laws to really get onto the to have our system connect with the US system. We still have a couple steps to go.
Yeah. Now, probably just jumping back to Groot's TT from the perspective of Groot's TT, we're having a very interesting discussion in terms of this. I mean, maybe do you think things like an offenders registry could assist victims of gender-based violence? I mean, if you have, go ahead.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would rather if you say survivors instead of victims.
Victims, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
of course.
Yeah.
Survivors of domestic violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, because then you would know, who your neighbor is, who is in your community.
Right.
And especially since a lot of, when it comes to gender-based violence, a lot of the times children are involved.
Yeah. And that such a system would probably assist in identifying, early identification of persons in and around the neighborhood who may be likely, and bring extra protection. Apart from that, I mean, as someone who is dealing with this, I presume, on a day-to-day basis, do you think that there are other measures that the government or the administration could take to further assist in your struggle of assisting survivors?
the what I mean, the government is doing
Right.
a lot, I should say.
Right.
For example, the Gender Affairs Unit
Mhm.
at the Office of the Prime Minister earlier, well, I think it was in June or July, they opened a
Right.
home for survivors of domestic violence. 2, 3 years before that, there wasn't a home that was government run.
Yeah.
So that to me is a step up. Also, the commissioner of police, when he commissioned the gender-based violence unit, that was also another step up.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because before that we did not have that. Last year, yeah, it was last year, an organization, Outright International, came to Trinidad and did some training with what we call first responders, and it was, police officers, members of the defense force, and so Red Cross that were trained in areas of, again, domestic violence. So things are happening on the ground.
What do you
you
think?
know.
What do you think are some of the things that, I mean, you spoke about the office of the Prime Minister, the police, but this is a societal problem. It's a problem that every individual has a responsibility to assist in solving. Are there things that ordinary citizens and individuals like myself, like Stefan, like our viewers, who may not be directly impacted at this time, but could contribute in some way or do something to assist in fighting this problem?
Okay. From Groot's perspective,
Yeah.
I can say that we need assistance. Yes, we are doing this work, and believe me, with the pandemic,
Yeah.
this has made things even harder for us.
Yeah.
We need like volunteers.
Right.
Yeah.
For example, I mean, a classic example, we had a client who the matter was to go to court. Of course, we did not have volunteer legal aid, someone, who would step forward to assist. And the mother just decided she's not going. So of course it's die a natural death. Needless to say, she returned home to this same abusive situation, and within a couple weeks she was seen crying out for help again.
Right.
So from an NGO perspective, we do need help.
Yeah.
I hope I can say it here. For example, Roots Trinidad and Tobago is not one of the NGOs that gets a government subvention. Yet we're doing all this work, and especially since the pandemic,
it's been tough.
As I said, our work has increased. We have been reaching out to socially displaced, vulnerable people. We have, since between March and October, we have prepared over 5,000 meals that we just prepare the meal and just go out 6 days per week and give. It started out with members of the PLHIV, person living with HIV, because in the early days of the pandemic, the minister was on saying that you can get your medication, go get your medication. But where are you going to get the food to eat to take the medication so you can live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a question that we raise.
Yeah.
So
that the public really needs to support organizations like yourself. It might not only be about money, but it might be about volunteering your time and effort to assist. Yeah.
Volunteering your time, and the government need to assist. Roots has been crying out for a subvention.
Yes,
yeah.
I understand.
I mean, we have been providing meals 6 days per week. We have cut it down to 3 days per week. We have been providing food hampers. We have been feeding people who live under the bridge. I don't know how many of the viewers know that there are people living under the bridge from Kireb to Tunapuna.
That's very sad.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard that as well.
Yeah. Yes, I have been there, so I know what I'm telling you. I enter on the side at La Jolla, and I came out on the PBR.
Right.
Right? Because I went looking for a young girl who I gather was living under the bridge, and then I realized it's a community under there.
Yeah.
We have been feeding and clothing people who lives on the street from, as I said, from Kirep to Tunapuna.
Yeah, and I suppose in these times, it's so often the vulnerable people in society that are the first to be affected and the first to, yeah,
Exactly.
I could understand that.
Exactly.
Jonathan, in terms of your effort and your movement, your organization, is there scope for public participation or public help, raising awareness, maybe assisting in
The development,
development of the
the
registry, and development of your efforts?
Well, I plan to begin a crowdfunding campaign later on this year. Well, you know, when the so many things in the media calm down,
Yes, yes.
and they can well, I would say the funding, immediate funding, should go to Groots, because she's saving people's lives on a
Yeah,
daily
yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
I have a long-term project that could wait a couple years to kick off. But I do, if anybody sees it online, please share the link and share it to your friends away who have money. And I do plan to if I raise enough funds, to distribute worthy NGOs and worthy causes as possible.
Well, maybe what we could do is probably wrap up by both of you giving the information to our viewers.
Yeah.
Now, let us know. Perhaps we could start with Groot. How can we contact you if you want to assist?
Well, how can someone, before we get to the assistant,
Yeah.
how can someone who may be a survivor of gender-based violence, how can someone reach out to your organization? Because, Ms. Robinson, I mean, you would know when we had our initial conversation over the phone, some of these persons are hesitant to come forward. They're hesitant to leave their home. Even though it's an abusive home, they're hesitant, but they may be looking for avenues out or avenues away. For example, to one of your shelters, how can they reach out to your organization?
Okay, someone who is in a domestic violence situation, I can tell you, I am a survivor. I have been through it. I've walked the walk. And the first thing is leave. I stayed for a couple of years because of my son. And then I realized there would not be a me to take care of this child that I am staying for. And I left. Right? So the best thing is to try and get out. You can call 800-SAVE, right? That's a toll-free number. You can also make contact with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, right? And there are 9 gender-based violence units across Trinidad and Tobago. There's one in Scarborough and Tobago. We have Sangre Grande. We have Maloney. I'm going by memory now. We have Monrepo. We have Labre. We have Besson Street. We have Chagonas. I'm hoping that I have all. Maraval.
No.
Right, so you can call, and once you call the 800-SAVE, there's someone there manning the line 24/7. They will put you on to the gender-based violence.
No, our production manager, Mr. Hole, is telling us we have 1 minute for the Zoom meeting, right? But how can we reach out to your organization in terms of assistance? And same thing with Jonathan as well.
Okay, Groot's number is 220-5986. That's 220-5986. And we have 2 helpline numbers that you can call. It's 24 hours. It's 230-2307 or 384-4722.
Thank you very much. And we'll put those numbers up definitely.
Yeah. And Jonathan,
what about you?
Well, you can follow us on Facebook, Caribbean Committee Against Sex Crimes. We have our page on Facebook, and hopefully, as soon as all the chaos subsides before the end of November, we will have our GoFundMe page, and be building to fund this research and this work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent. Guys, you both are doing admirable work. Please keep it up. I know, Ms. Robinson, you said it's difficult at this time. Trust me when I say it, you know it firsthand. What you're doing is an amazing.
Invaluable work.
It's invaluable. And please continue. We will try on our end with any assistance that we could.
Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having us.
See you, Jonathan.
All right. Sure.
Those two guests had invaluable information.
Yeah, very invaluable information. As we said, that is often the vulnerable people in society.
Exactly.
During times like these, who suffer the most, because the ordinary protections, the ordinary charity, those are often the first types of income that get eaten up.
What stood out to me, Kyle, specifically, what stood out and hit me the most was when Ms. Robinson was talking about the COVID. Now, I read some of the UN statistics in preparation for the show, and there was an uptick. But when she said she compared the figures from 2019 to 2020, based on the Commissioner of Police's statistics, there was a 500% increase in reported incidents. We're not talking about unreported. Unreported may be even higher.
Yeah.
But the reported incidents, and that is where we want to get to you guys out there, the viewers, the listeners of Section 1. If you're having an issue, as Ms. Robertson said, if it's abusive, leave.
Yeah.
Right? There are numbers that you could reach out to
For assistance.
For assistance, 800 SAVE. We will have Ms. Pollard on just now, who is the manager of the gender-based unit in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. She will offer assistance from the police side of things. But you have 800 SAVE. You have the helpline, the 24-hour helpline from Groot City. It's 220-5986. Then that is a 24-hour hotline, as well as the 800 SAVE. So please, even if it's your family members, be vigilant. Don't wait until it's too late. It's a very important issue. It's affecting us very much in the society.
Yeah.
So let's take a very short break, and we will have Ms. Shireen Pollard, the manager of the Gender-Based Violence Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.